Hello and welcome to another episode of I Guess I'll Do It with Pat House. Today I have a fantastic guest with me. It's been a long time since we caught up. Today you've seen him on Dry Bar and he has Glen Tickle Against the World. Said his name before the intro, but it was in the credit there. So today I have Glen Tickle. What's up, man?
Hello there.
Good to see you. What's going on?
Just getting ready to go do a show in Maryland tonight.
Nice. Where you at?
So, Only, I forget. It's near DC.
Yeah, it's way down there. I know that.
Yeah.
Nice. So we haven't caught up in a long time. I know you from working in the Lehigh Valley.
Yeah.
And I was on your website today, and you specifically mentioned that you are from New Jersey. I had no idea.
Everyone thinks it's because I do so much stuff at Steel Stacks. Like everyone thinks I just
that's the only place we met there, and the Allentown Brew Works.
Yeah, I think I forget who you were talking to, but you do a thing a lot on this show where you're like, oh, I remember exactly when we first met, and then you pull out something from like 15 years.
Yeah, I'm pretty good about that.
I'm like,
and I'm positive.
No
I'm positive
I'm
that
so
you and
bad at that.
I
would have to guess
it had
Allentown Brew Works.
That's exactly. That's the only place I would have pinpointed it to be because they had the Tickle Me Tuesday shows, and then they had some other miscellaneous stuff. Yeah, I didn't even catch on that. Nice one.
There were, for years while that show was going on, people would think that I booked it because my last name is in the title, and they were like mad at me that they weren't getting on that show. And I'm like, I got nothing to do with it. I'm just on it sometimes.
That's hilarious. That's a very unfortunate coincidence.
They would get emails to me at like the show's email address, and it's like, no, it's not.
So where are you from in Jersey?
I'm from outside Phillipsburg, New Jersey, where no one knows where that is. It's up by Easton.
Yeah, Chris McDevitt was from there.
Yes.
Yeah.
He and I were in a production of A Midsummer Night's Dream together in high school, and I believe he let me borrow a copy of Clerks when I was a freshman in high school. That led me to then go on to take film in college.
Oh, yeah. He and I go way, way back. I haven't seen him in years and years and years, but we still follow each other on social media. But in our early years in stand-up, like 17, 18 years ago, we were out every single night together, and I know he was from Phillipsburg.
Yeah, I know he was still doing stand-up when I started. I don't know if we ever did shows together because I think he was down in Philly then. And I remember, I think like we found each other on Facebook around the time I started doing stand-up and talked about it. But yeah, like he's, I think he was a senior when I was a freshman, so we didn't have like a ton of overlap. It was just like,
you guys went to the same school together?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it's like, remember we did that play, and that's basically the one point of reference we had before he like left to go to college.
Oh, do you have any photos from then?
Somewhere probably. I don't probably not of he and I together. There was I waited tables at a Ruby Tuesday after college, and they had like the program from that play as like one of the wall decorations because they used to just have like garbage up on the wall.
Yeah, they like the Applebee's by me has all local shit on the walls.
And then when they were redesigning it, so they were tearing all that stuff down. And I was like, hey, if you're just ripping that down, can I have it? Because I don't know that I have a copy of that program anymore. And it's already like it was in a frame and stuff. And they're like, oh yeah. And then they just threw it away because they
don't care.
They don't
like
care
why would they?
It was the worst job I've ever had.
Was it really?
Yeah, I'm not a good waiter and or bartender.
Okay, I'm better. I'm better at both of those than comedy.
Yeah, I'll put you stuck with it, so I assume you don't hate bartending as much as I did.
No, I don't. But
or you would probably not have been doing it for so long.
But I've never worked at a place that was like corporate like that. Like you guys probably had a handbook and rules and had to use the jigger, and all the drinks had to be perfect.
Probably better to work where you work.
I'm like free pouring and being like, here, just take this.
Yeah. No, this is a nightmare. But it's also like I'm not good at faking interest in other people. Like I don't want to have to ask you how your day's going. That's why I don't do a lot of crowd work in stand up. It's I also have ADD, so it was like they would tell me what they wanted. If I didn't immediately type it into the computer,
out the window,
didn't get done. Yeah,
out the window.
It would just be 45 minutes and like, hey, where's our food? And like, let me go find out, and then you make up an excuse about the kitchen being backed up or something.
Yeah, even though there's clearly nobody in the restaurant. They're like,
Yeah,
we're swamped back there.
We're the only table here. It's just us. What do you mean? It's a big to-go order.
A lot of my business at work are regulars, so like I can bullshit with them easily, but if it's people I don't know, it is so hard to be like, how was your day? What's going on? I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I don't want to know your name. Don't ask me mine. Because now you're going to be like, hey, Pat, when you get a second, hey, Pat, and I don't want
Get out of here. We're not friends. Stop calling me that.
Like, I'd rather you come to my bar, be like, all right, Coors Light, Jameson, burger, medium, done. We're on the same page.
Perfect. That's all. That's the end of the discussion. Here you go, and then they eat it and they leave. That's ideal, I think.
It really is. So being in Jersey, were you performing in Jersey at all, or were you coming over to PA for the most part?
I was going to Bethlehem and Allentown when I started out. Like the first mic I did was at Steel Stack or at the Brewworks in Bethlehem. And then that was like an audition for the showcase at Allentown Brewworks. And when I started out, it was like cutthroat. Like people were taking that open mic so seriously, trying to get on the Allentown Brewworks show. And then I got on it like pretty quick. And then I realized it's like, guys, it's just a show at the other Brewworks. Like this is nothing. Like it's not
a comedy cellar audition.
You don't need to be stabbing each other in the backs about this. Like it doesn't matter.
There seemed to be a pretty big scene up there. Like every time I went up there was definitely always a lot of comics hanging around, whether they were on the show or just hanging out to watch.
Yeah, because that's like everyone would do it to support the show because they thought it would make like Ryan Hill book them on it. And I'm like, that probably worked. I don't know. But yeah, there was when I started out, like you could get up in the Lehigh Valley or like a pretty reasonable drive from it every night of the week. Back in 2009. I don't think that's the case anymore, but mics are coming back after the pandemic. Even before that, there weren't a ton in the area, but I think with any scene,
a lot of stuff has bounced back. I feel like I'm a little out of the loop with what Philly has to offer, but it just seems like there's a lot going on right now. Maybe even more than ever. I don't really remember. I was up on stage a lot my first couple years, but it seems like there's a lot of shit going on now and a lot of comics running mics and bar shows all over. Yeah,
it kind of depends on like if you have a couple people willing to produce those shows. Like that's
key.
I think you can have 1,000 comedians in your town, but if nobody wants to organize the event,
I know,
because it's not really going to happen.
It can really suck. It can really suck.
I hate doing that.
I book like 3 shows a year, and that's like more than enough. Yeah. Way more than enough.
I occasionally get like roped in to help produce like a charity event or something. It's like, I hate doing this. I just tell me what time I need to show up. Like it's about as much administration as I can handle.
Did you perform in Jersey at all? Like, did you ever go to the Stress Factory or Uncle Vinny's or down to Cherry Hill to do Rascals? Or
I've never done Rascals. There was an open mic at Stress Factory when I started out that I went to a few times, but it's like kind of far. And then it like turned into a bringer at one point, and it didn't feel
at
worth.
Stress. You said,
yeah,
okay.
Like the open mic
that was on that was on Wednesdays for a couple years there, and then they dropped it, I believe.
Yeah, and I think when I started, it was not a bringer yet, and then after the first couple I did, they're like, "Oh, you got to bring 5 people now." And it's like I don't want to. I'm not going to drive 45 minutes to New Brunswick to try to get half a dozen people there with me.
So hard. I
hate
hard
shows so much.
I don't know how people in New York City do it.
There's one,
unless you're like in college and you're young and you have a friends and a support system, but like it's still the concept just blows my mind.
There's one guy who does, I don't know if he's still after the pandemic has been doing them, but I stuck with doing bringer shows for a guy named Clayton Fletcher for a while.
I know that name. I don't think I know him, but I know that name.
Yeah, it's like a 3-person bringer, I think, and it's at the time at least, it was you have to bring 3 people to get on stage. If you bring more than 3 people, he pays you. At the time, it was like $5 a head for everybody you bring.
Oh wow!
And it's like not ideal still, but better than
it's still more of an incentive than having to better than
the
corral people
other,
and
I forget the dude's name. the last bringer I did for somebody other than Clayton, it was like, you have to bring 20 people. It's unpaid. I'm like, no, this is horrible.
That's a crime against humanity. Are they still a thing anymore, bringer shows? I feel like I haven't even heard the term in a while. And I don't know any, like, I'm assuming they would most likely be in New York City. I don't know any New York City comics to even ask.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there are. They might have like reworked it a little bit because everybody realized how terrible they are. It's just producers and clubs figured out, oh, we can make money off the comics rather than the audience coming to see them. All we have to do is, try to exploit their dreams.
Tell each comic to bring 20 people.
If you bring charge them. People you get on this show, the owner of the club will watch your set. No, they won't.
We charge them $20 for one blue moon. And then that's...
I did one at a club in New York years ago, and the owner of the club was like, the hook was like, the club owner watches your set, and it's essentially an audition. His feedback for my set was, hey, it seems like you're pretty good at this. So my recommendation is don't get married or have kids. And it's like, oh, so you didn't listen to a word I said on stage. My entire set was about my wife and newborn daughter. So you just weren't listening to a single word.
Hilarious.
It wasn't like I mentioned it. Like the whole set was, here's jokes about me being a married father. And he's like, oh yeah, you gotta get out on the road. Shut up, idiot. You don't know anything. I hope your club fails.
Also, this is not true for everybody, but like probably more so in New York City. Like, I don't know if the club owner, they may be hands-on, but I don't think they are on top of the day-to-day bookings. You know what I mean? Like I mean, there's oversight. I totally get that. They oversee how the club is being operated. But in terms of like a bringer show, like that's insane for the owner to, or even the manager.
When you're starting out, you're like, ooh, I get to be on stage at like a real club. So like,
the stuff
trick you into thinking it's a good deal.
The stuff you do early in your career is so funny to look back on because, like, I remember the New York City Comedy Festival in 2005. I had been doing stand-up less than a year, and I mailed a VHS tape to the festival of me doing, like, my best 5, 8 months into doing stand-up. Like, that's maniacal.
Yeah. It's also embarrassing when you look back.
Oh, mortifying.
Like, why did I do that? Why did I think? I mean,
and I went to that mailbox with confidence, by the way.
They're going to love this.
I was like, this shit is, I'm getting in this festival. And then, I
don't think any of my stand-up has ever been committed to VHS. DVD for sure.
DVD, I was right on the cusp, but I for sure have a couple VHS tapes still in the closet behind me.
I was working at Blockbuster in high school when like the switch to DVD was happening.
Was that
when
a
I started,
time?
It was all VHS, and then by the time I left, it was almost entirely DVD.
Were people mad about it?
Yeah. Oh, they came in and complained every day because it like started. There was a DVD section that was like 2 aisles, and it just kept growing until it took over the whole store.
What were the first DVDs to come out?
Ever? I don't know. The first ones I owned, my dad got me.
Well, the first ones in your store, I guess.
I don't remember.
Okay, I don't know if
I remember when my dad got me a DVD player for my birthday when I was, I think, 16 or 17, and he got me. It was the Nurse Betty with Renelle Zellweger and Morgan Freeman and a couple. I'm like, why this movie though?
That is so random.
He's like, I don't know. It's just if you bought the DVD player, you got to pick 3. So I just grabbed 3. I forget what the other ones were, but I'm like, I don't know what about our time together, Father, made you think Nurse Betty
was going to be the winner.
I know I watched it. I could not tell you a single thing about that movie.
I think I've seen it, and I'm in the same boat. I couldn't tell you. Nope, got nothing.
I'm sure it's great.
All right, so let's go back to the beginning. So you're from Jersey. When did you start stand-up?
2009.
Okay. And
shortly after my illustrious bartending career.
Okay, so you did that after.
Yeah, I was. It might have overlapped like the first couple open mics that I did, but I
hear that because mine's overlapped for 19 years, so I get that.
I went to school for film. Made a movie my last year.
Where'd you go to school?
To Ramapo College of New Jersey.
Okay,
in beautiful Mahwah, New Jersey. And when I got out of school, like I had made a movie my last year and then wasn't having much luck, like getting anything else I'd written produced. I was doing like some freelance video work. And then I started waiting tables kind of on the side when video work was slow, but then the video work dried up and I was just serving and bartending. And I was like, I hate this. Like, I don't want, like, I know people who do it who like are good at it and enjoy it, but I'm like, I'm bad at it and I don't like doing it. So I left to go substitute teach after that. And that was like around when I started doing open mics. Because it was like, I've always liked comedy. All the movies I made in college were comedies. And then when I wasn't getting hired to like write anything, it's like, well, stand-ups are getting hired for these jobs that I want. So I don't mind standing in front of people and I know how jokes work. So let me go do that until I get a writing job. And it worked. But like once I started doing it, it's like, this is great, actually. Like this is tremendous. I like this better.
What kind of movies were you making?
It was a lot of shorts in when I was in college, and I did one that was like, it was the idea was it was like a live action Looney Tunes cartoon about a girl trying to like take a cigarette break and like a big giant guy telling her she's not allowed to smoke there. But like it was all silent. We had like Looney Tunes level gags of like the guy would take the cigarette out of her mouth and she would just keep pulling up new lit cigarettes out of the bottom of the screen. Like stuff like that where it's like, yeah, like I like Looney Tunes, so I want to see if I can do that with, real people. I did a feature my last year, which was a dark comedy, and it was like, yeah, I like comedy. Like I've always enjoyed,
been drawn to it.
That like I watched a lot of stand up as a kid.
That's what I was going to get into next. Yeah.
It was, I think when VH1 got added to our cable package,
VH1 Comedy Spotlight.
Yeah, they had that, and they would like rerun episodes of the A-List, and I would just watch that. Like I didn't understand half the jokes because I was like 12, and at one point my dad came in and he saw I was watching stand up, and he's like, "I'm not going to tell you you're not allowed to watch this, but if anybody starts talking about something you don't think you should be hearing, then like I'm going to leave it up to you to like know when to turn it off." And I'm like,
pretty
I
solid,
solid
rules there.
Yeah, it's a real highlight for Bill Tickle's parenting career.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't even realize they might say anything you don't want me to hear. Now I want to watch it more until they do. And
now you can probably look back at those episodes you watch now and realize just how tame it is because no one was really...
This was on afternoon TV in 1998. Like,
I know.
No one was saying anything.
No one at that time was doing anything.
Yeah. It's like I'm watching like Wendy Liebman clips and just loving it. And my dad's like, hey, if they get too racy on VH1, I don't know. I don't think they're gonna.
And it's Wendy Liebman. I don't think these one-liners are really going to get too racist or anything.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fine, Dad. I think it'll be all right.
It's so funny that you mentioned her name specifically because I just put her on my list to get on here on the podcast
really?
down the line. Yeah, I've been a fan forever, and I remember seeing her on TV when I was a kid. So I'm kind of compiling more and more names to just put in the arsenal to hit up. And I'm
not on Twitter anymore. But
absolutely one of
them. Followed me on there years ago, and I like couldn't believe it. And then it's like she's one of those people who, like follows like 500,000 people. So
you know what? Her and I have met once or twice years and years ago, and she still wishes me a happy birthday on Facebook every single year. And I'm like, that's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, she is. So that's cool though that you were watching stand-up at such a young age because so was I, and it's come up a million times on this podcast. But like the A-List, the VH1 Comedy Spotlight, the Premium Blend, the Comedy Central half hours were monumental. My whole entire childhood through 7th grade through college, pretty much.
Yeah,
and here's a fun fact: they're all on Paramount Plus now. Not Premium Blend, but all of the Comedy Central presents from like 98 to 2000 are all on Paramount Plus. Yep, and I'm having
those are still some of my favorite like pieces of work from some of my favorite comics.
Absolutely, because they were so young and so raw. And I watched some of these comedians. I watched their presents that I watched 10 times in high school, and I'm like, man, I've been doing stand-up 15 years longer now than they were when they did this special.
Yeah,
You realize
back when they used to like put money into things like half-hour specials from new comics.
One of my first guests on this podcast was Ted Alexandro, who's one of my favorites and very good friends, and he was only like 5 years in when he got his. Don't quote me on the exact year, but it was like around 5. And it's like,
how long have you been doing it?
It'll be 19 next month.
Nice. Because I remember, I mean, like I said, my brain's terrible. I don't specifically remember, but I assume we met at a Tickle Me Tuesday at Allentown Brewworks.
Had to have been, or Steel
you would
Stacks.
Have been brought up as the headliner from Philly.
Yeah, that happened. I featured a couple times, then that happened. Yeah, and I mean, Ryan Hill was always very, very good to me. So whether it was like Bethlehem Brewworks, Allentown, Steel Stacks, or even a couple miscellaneous stuff, like I was probably up there once or twice a month for a while there.
Yeah,
doing
because I think when I started, I think the Sunday mic was every other week,
and I would go to that sometimes because I was hungry for stage time, and my parents lived in Delaware County off 476, and Allentown's off 4. It like wasn't even an hour. So like if I could go and get like 8 to 10 solid minutes, I would just go up there on a Sunday. Absolutely.
Yeah. I remember, especially when you're starting out. Like I would drive anywhere. Like there's an art gallery a little less than an hour away that like had an open mic for poetry and music, and we would just go and be like, "Can we tell jokes?" And they're like, "You can. We don't really want you to, but it's I guess it's in the spirit of the open mic if you really want to do it."
It's so funny. On the flip side, I've had musician friends run like music open mics, and like, "Hey, you want to come by and do comedy?" And I'm like, I would love to do a set, but I just know this is not going to work out well on my end.
It is the bits.
Yeah, I know, because there's like kids playing the ukulele and teenagers doing their songs for the first time, and my stand-up, not even doing anything dirty or questionable, is just no one wants a comedian to pop in and ruin this for all the musicians.
Yeah, I've done a few where it's like mixed, and it's when there's a musician on, like when a musician's on stage, all the comics are out front talking. When a comic's on stage, all the musicians are outside. Like, it's just, I don't know. I think because you're there to do a thing. Like, you're there to perform and watch either comedy or music, and then when that gets interrupted, you're like, it's just.
But it can
I gotta play 2 songs instead of 3 because this idiot wants to tell me about his day. Like, that's
I know
probably frustrating for them.
And then even music open mics are still kind of the same. Like I've seen a lot of musicians like buried in their notebooks or like trying to, tune their guitars while the other musicians are performing. And it's the same thing as when a open mic comic is on stage and every comic has their nose buried in their notebook figuring out their 3 minutes.
Oh, he just did a joke about that thing I was going to do a joke about. That's probably the same if you're a musician. Like, oh, they played Wonderwall. Now I got to do something else.
Great. Now I have 10 minutes. I can only do Stairway. So where was your very first open mic set? What was the very first time? Or actually, take it one step back. When did that click in your mind where you said you were going to try it?
It was, like I said, when I was not getting writing work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, I should just try that. And then I saw like just a yard, like a cardboard like yard sign that like you put out like election season. There's just one that said like open mic comedy at a bar in my town. It's like, oh, I can just go do it. Yeah. All right. And then a friend of mine from childhood reached out and he's like, hey, I'm going to do the open mic at Bethlehem Brewworks on Sunday. He's like, I'm kind of nervous. Will you do it with me? And I was like,
oh, wow.
No, I've been thinking about it. I'll go with you. I will watch how it goes because then like I'll get a feel for it. And so I met up with him there. He did it. Bombed, and he's like, I'm never going to do this again. I'm like, well, I'm going to come back in 2 weeks and do it. So like, stick with it, come back, and then we'll both do it next time. Like, I'll write jokes. Cause I did do it one time in college, but I didn't like prepare anything. I'm like, oh yeah, you just go talk and be funny for 5 minutes. That's no problem.
That's so easy. Who can't do this?
It went bad, and I don't really count that because like I don't feel it was like an honest attempt.
Yeah, that's happened a lot on this podcast too. When I get people's first story, they tried it once, typically in college, and then like shelved it for even a year or two, and then came back.
No, it was I think it was like 20. It's like, oh, I just genuinely didn't understand what was being asked of me in this moment. And then it's like, well, give me 2 weeks. I'll write some jokes. I'll come back. We'll do it. And that's basically how it went. My first show went fine. Not excellent, but like if it went badly again, I would have just stopped.
Mm-hmm. Did your friend ever do it again?
He did. He stuck with it for a while.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Okay,
but yeah, like he and I we would drive around to weird places to go do open mics for a long time.
That's how it goes in the beginning. But that's cool though that he came back instead of quitting like he said he was going to do after that first bomb.
Yeah, I mean whether or not he should have is debatable, but he stuck with it for a while. But then there's comics that I met at that open mic that I still like do shows with, like Ryan Hill, obviously we brought him up already.
Absolutely.
Tyler Rothrock, Jason Brown.
Yep.
All those guys are like, I mean, Pat Jansen, he's out in Nebraska now, but I go out there to do shows with that dude still a couple times a year.
Nebraska, huh?
Yeah. I've performed in Nebraska more times this year and last year than in New Jersey either year.
No kidding. What's in Nebraska? I'm on a quest to do stand-up in all 50 states, and I have not done Nebraska yet.
There's a theater in Omaha called The Backline that was like a friend of Pat's from college that he like started this improv theater. So we went out. I've done shows there. They run the Omaha Comedy Festival every year.
Oh.
So I went out and did that a few years ago. Lincoln had like a pretty decent scene. I don't know if it's still happening. I know the one guy died, and then the other 2 people I know were putting on shows just left Nebraska to move back to Pennsylvania. So I don't know if there's still anything going on in Lincoln, but there's a lot. I mean, they do the Johnny Carson Festival every year.
Yep.
So Pat is like involved in the board for that now. So I went out and did that last year. That's in Norfolk. There's a great venue, District Event Table in Norfolk that has like a really impressive like lineup of comics. It's like a lot of like old SNL people will come through. I got to do shows with Tim Meadows there a couple months ago.
Wow.
And it's like, yeah, this is pretty solid for Nebraska.
I really had no idea. I thought it was just the Omaha Funny Bone. And then that's it.
I have no luck getting any work at any like club chains. They just don't return emails.
It can be weird.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. Like when I started trying to get work in New York, and they're like, "Oh, well, like you can work the door and like seat people, and then like maybe we'll give you 5 minutes."
Yeah,
like,
at
but I don't want to
2:38 a.m.
Yeah, I don't. It's like I never really got good at hosting because I would see guys who were great at it, and then like they're just getting asked to host all the time, and like, yeah, can I get like a feature spot once in a while? And they're like, you're too good at hosting, man. We got to keep you in that spot.
I've heard it. Like, I've heard it.
Like,
and
well,
like,
if I don't get good at that, then I'll just focus on the parts of this that I want to do.
I feel like that's such a typical thing in comedy, because if you host for a club or regular bookers in the area and you are a good host, they just want to hold you in that spot forever. And then you're like, Jesus Christ, I've been doing this 8 years. We all know I have 30 minutes. Yeah. Let's get the next ball rolling here.
Oh, we'll give you 5 minutes if you come like set up chairs before the show. Then you're just the guy who sets up the chairs. Like they don't take you seriously as a comedian.
Yeah, you have to cut that off so they know that you're not just their bitch.
It's a way to get your foot in the door for sure. But then if you look at who clubs are booking, it's, the headliners aren't people who used to work the door at that place a lot of the time. It is usually somebody who has a credit for doing something else that the club is bringing in because they'll sell tickets. So I'm like, all right, I will just focus on getting good at comedy, and then I will go do something that a club would want to book me for. And I don't necessarily recommend this approach because pretty slow going. Like, I've been at this for 13 years, but it's, most people don't know who I am. I have like a modest following on social media, but I don't know. I have a body of work that I'm proud of.
Absolutely.
Like,
and that's what
I think I'm good at this.
So here's the thing too that I think of all the time. Like, I open for Dan Cummins a lot. He's the best. He's been great to me. He's phenomenal. When his podcast took off, I don't know, 7-8 years ago or so, more of his podcast fans went back into his stand-up catalog, and he had 5 albums at that point, CDs, albums, because they were older. And he was like, yeah, when my fans finally came on board, they're like, holy shit, this guy has a whole arsenal of stuff back here. So that's kind of how I look at it. I mean, I have 3 albums and a modest following, but like, I'm not headlining or selling out clubs on the weekends.
Yeah. So I do a lot of like private event and corporate gigs. Like, that's most of what I do.
And that's like, there are so many comedians in that world, and there's money to be made, and people don't even, your average everyday comedy fan doesn't even know that world exists.
Yeah, it's I'm doing a show in Kansas City at the end of the month, and I reached out to a friend of mine. I was like, oh, I'm going to be in Kansas City if you want to like get lunch or something. He's like, oh, when's the show? I'm like, you can't come. Like, unless you change jobs, you can't come to this show.
Yeah.
So I don't post about a lot of the shows that I'm doing online because I don't want to be like, hey, I'm going to be in Nebraska if it's,
if you work for Jiffy Lube or something.
Yeah, it's like if you're in this brand, if you're in this division of this corporation, like, you can come to this Marriott Conference Center. Otherwise, I don't know.
Do you?
And I try to book shows around. Like, if I have to travel somewhere to do a corporate gig, it's like, all right, that's going to cover getting me to Michigan or Wisconsin or wherever. So then I will like try to reach out and set up even just like a bar show that I will probably lose money at, because it's like I want people who don't have to be there to be able to come see me.
Yeah, no, I don't do it as much now as I used to, but I would always try to tack on stuff to other stuff. Hang in town an extra day or two, try to do this or get in a day early, or like book yourself on a late night bar show after the Thursday show somewhere. I had stuff to do this past month, but last week I was in San Francisco, and the week before I was in Seattle, Tacoma area, but I came home in the middle because I would have been gone for too long, and there was stuff to do at home, but I would have loved to just hung out on the West Coast in that meantime and picks up some other stuff, but it didn't work out that time.
Where because I have young kids, so it's like I'm doing a show in Maryland and then a show in York, Pennsylvania tomorrow night, and it's like, if these weren't back to back, like, I would just drive to and from either one, but to do it in a row, it's like I'd be home, but I'm just going to be like tired because I'm going to get home like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I might just stay down there. I haven't really decided, but it's like I have to plan that around like, being home enough. Cause a big part of this job is me being gone.
Yeah.
And, there's guys like Mike Gaffney who'll go on a cruise for like 3 months and he's like, I love it. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to be gone for 3 months. Like, I want to be home with my kids. And he's like, my kids are in their 20s. They actively don't want me home. I'm like, that's
that's a different period of life there though.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, maybe, 10 years from now, but I mean, I heard like cruise contracts are getting shorter. Like
I've heard that too. They're not as wild as
guys who like doing it, who will schedule stuff where they're just gone for months at a clip.
But. Yeah, but I've heard that too. There's no like mandatory 12-week engagement. Like, your next 3 months, you will not leave this ship.
Yeah, I hear that's less common now. I'm like, I'll go for like a week or two. That sounds fine.
So you're in Maryland tonight and York, Pennsylvania tomorrow, and you don't know where you're staying tonight?
Probably down in Maryland, and I'll just drive up to York. But it's like I can drive 3.5 hours to Maryland and then 3.5 home, and then like 2 to York tomorrow, or York's basically on the way home. So
yeah, no, I totally get it. But I have had so many gigs where it's like, actually this happened to me 2 weeks ago in Washington. It's like, I don't know where I'm staying tonight, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Like, I was talking to my wife right before I jumped on the call, and I'm like, yeah, I haven't really decided. She's like, you haven't booked a hotel? I'm like, no. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to use one or not. Like, I don't want to.
Yeah, it's always
cancel the reservation. I'm like, I'll find one around. It's not.
The only thing is, I mean, this podcast won't come out for 2 more weeks, but just saying, in the moment right now, it is a holiday weekend, so you do have to be kind of careful.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean,
but also
who's going to the DC area for Labor
if
Day,
you're off 81 south of Gettysburg, you can find a Marriott.
I think it'll be all right.
You'll find a Hampton Inn. It's not going to be too difficult. All right, so when you did your first set there, did you jump in right away? Were you immediately seeking
I didn't
stage
tell
time
anyone.
left and right?
The one friend that I went to see the time before, he knew I was going to do it. And then I told my wife that I was thinking about it. I don't know if I told her, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go do stand-up comedy tonight. Because I didn't want, if it went bad, I didn't want to have to hear about it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, or get 5,000 questions, which I think is worse. I'd rather have you give me shit than ask 87 follow-up questions.
Yeah, that's, my wife will 100% ask me 100 follow-up questions to stuff. So I don't tell her about things until I know all the details. Because I can't be like, oh, hey, I might be going to San Francisco. She's like, when? For how long? Where are you going to stay? Are you going to fly? I'm like, I don't know. It's just, I might do it. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm in we'll see.
It's like, I don't know. It might, like, I've been working with a cruise agency the past couple of weeks, and they will sometimes be like, hey, are you free this date? And I'm like, yep. And then I don't hear anything. And it's like, oh, I might have to go do a cruise for a week, or I probably won't. And it's like, I don't have any more information to give you. It's just, they asked if I was available. That's all I know.
And then nothing.
Yeah.
Have you done cruises before? Have you done one yet?
No.
Nice.
Never. I have friends who go on them a lot, like non-comics.
I've been on a bunch. And
who do it for fun. And I can't imagine a thing I would want to do for vacation less.
Yeah. That's also a very common thought.
Going to like perform, like it's how I feel about flying. Like, I'm not afraid to be on a boat. I'm not afraid to be on an airplane. I just don't really want to go through, TSA 2 hours early to stand in a bunch of lines and then have the flight get delayed. And then you're just like in an airport for 9 hours. Like,
yeah, but I fly a lot, and that really hasn't been happening lately. I've had either good luck or.
You must have, because everybody else I know is getting delayed and canceled all over the place.
Shout out American Airlines. They've been very, very good to me.
A buddy of mine's got stuck in Detroit for 3 days.
Wow. Was it during like the Canadian wildfires or anything, or something crazy like that? Or
I think it was before. that.
I was gonna.
It's like, yeah, I don't. Just flights keep getting canceled and delayed. Like, I have a show one night in Boston. The next night is Kansas City. So I would, if I could schedule it, I would rather drive, but I can't. Like,
no, that's literally half the country. Yeah, I mean, like, no exaggeration.
And it's like, I mean, I'll do it when I have to, but I don't love it. And it's now I'm just stressed about the flight getting canceled. So
I don't know. From my end, I have not had many travel disasters lately at all in the past couple years. And
I mean, pretty much every flight I've ever been on has been delayed by like at least a little bit, or there's like a last minute gate change. It's like, it's just being in an airport's really stressful because I'm worried I'm in the wrong spot or I'm gonna miss something. I drive. If it's east of Omaha, I will drive unless like it's like a scheduling thing where I absolutely can't.
What's your hour? Okay, so Omaha. What would it take you to drive from your house to Omaha?
It's like 14 and a half.
Okay. My cutoff point was 10, and now I think it's 8 hours for driving.
Yeah, I mean, I'll like stop for the night somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But I will sometimes also just drive straight through. I did a show in Ashland, Wisconsin, which is like the very north border with Lake Superior. Is that the
way
one?
Up there?
Yeah, and I was gonna stop somewhere in Michigan because there was a storm going around Chicago. So to avoid it, I had to go through like the Upper Peninsula of Michigan to get there. And when you get like north of like Saginaw, there's just nothing up there. So I hit Saginaw at like 8 o'clock at night. I'd been driving all day, and it's like, I'm good for another couple hours. And then you just get up to the woods and there's nothing. And it's like, oh, I can't stop because there's nowhere to do that.
There's nowhere to even go.
It got to the point where it's like, I might run out of gas because these are all closed. Like, I don't know what to do. I ended up just like I pulled over and like shut my eyes for a couple minutes at a rest stop and then just like kept going. I ended up getting to Ashland at like 4 a.m. And then the hotel wouldn't let me check in until 1. So it's like,
Oh, dude, that drives me nuts because
yeah.
when I fly, I tend to book all the early flights so I arrive at
Yep.
my destination early in case something happens during the day. Even if I'm delayed 3 or 4 hours, I'll still be there on time.
Yeah.
And I've only had one instance where the hotel would not let me check in early. It was the Holiday Inn in Raleigh, octagon-shaped looking building right downtown. And I go to check in, and they're like, check-in's at 3. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't check in early. There's no rooms available. And they said no. And I was like, come on. I fly all the time. I check in early all the time.
Yeah.
How is it possible there is not one room available in this entire building? And
I would say like 95% of the time, it's not a problem. I mean, if you get there at 4 a.m. and you're like, can I check in? Like that. I don't think they were being unreasonable.
True, but I
they're like, I think check-in was 3 and they're like, come back at 1. We'll get your room. And it happened. I was just in Ohio and the place like, yeah, check-in's at 4. I'm like, it's 3:15 though. Like, come on.
So how did you kill 9 hours then at 4 a.m. to 1 p.m.?
I walked around Ashland, Wisconsin, from like 4 a.m. I closed my eyes in my car for maybe an hour in the parking lot of the hotel. And then just like walked around, got breakfast, got coffee, like just probably walked 10 miles while I killed time. And then finally got to the hotel, then went to sleep, got up, went to the venue. We did the show. It was crazy because it was like all people who were there to see me, which doesn't happen a lot.
Well, that's awesome.
It's like I'm at the point in my career where like people are going to see the idea of comedy, where they're like, oh, there's a comedian. We don't really care who it is. We're just going to go watch comedy.
Hey, there's comedy at Joe's Shack tonight.
Yeah, it's this venue in Wisconsin. Like the people who booked it saw my dry bar special, really liked it, and then they were like telling everybody in town. They're like, oh, we got this guy coming. And then they all watched the dry bar special, and it's like, oh no, that's what I was going to do. I was just going to do those jokes. Now I guess I'll do newer, different jokes.
Well, it's because
it was around the time I was like starting to put the new hour together that I just recorded, and it's like not all of this is like done yet. So I don't know if North Wisconsin's going to be as into all these Jurassic Park jokes as.
Well, that's a funny thing too, because as comics, it's ingrained in us to do new stuff all the time, especially if it's a market you've been to before. Or if, there's just people in the crowd. So you're like, oh, man, I have to do new stuff, as much new stuff as I have. And then you come off stage, people are like, why didn't you do A, B, and C? You're like, because you've heard it 10 times. Now, and then they're right? I feel it probably varies person to person, but I've done hour-long sets before and purposely omitted stuff. And then as soon as the show was done, they're like, hey, you didn't do this or that. I'm like, you've heard it. They're like, yeah, but we love it. I'm like, oh, my God.
I think that's like an old way of thinking about it. But I mean, weirdly, like Seinfeld will do. I saw him. We were both at the Lucille Ball Comedy Festival years ago.
Jamestown, New York.
Beautiful Jamestown, New York. Yep. And I went to his show and he was doing like bits from the stand-up interstitials on Seinfeld.
Were people going nuts for it?
Yeah. And I was like, do you have like a newer bit? He's talked about it where he's like, I just want to do an hour, like the best hour. Like, I don't care if it is a joke I think people have heard before. If it's a good joke, they will still like it. And I think he's right to a point. Like, I mean, there's jokes that I wrote the first year in stand-up that I don't tell anymore because they're bad. Yeah. But there's also ones where it's just like, I don't know, I don't want to do that one anymore. I'm tired of it. And it's, but I'm doing virtual shows. I did a corporate, this has happened a couple times, but one specific instance was I was doing a bit that was on my dry bar special. And then in the chat on the Zoom meeting, someone's like, oh, I saw this joke on dry bar. And then I saw the thing and then I got like really self-conscious about it. And I was like, oh, hang on. Like whatever his name was. I'm like, do you mean like you're like disappointed that you heard it? And he's like, no, I love it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then a couple other people were like, yeah, we saw that too. Like, we like that joke. And it's like, great. Here's the extended cut. Like, here's what Dry Bar wouldn't let me do. And then you just do like a longer, slightly different version, and they love it.
Yeah, even adding stuff to it or changing it does make it more exciting for you and them.
Yeah, I have to. Like, I did a show.
Yeah, 'cause boredom comes in.
Yeah, I did a show the other week, and the place wanted to have me back, and they're like, oh, like, if we bring you back next year, like, is it going to be the same show? I'm like, it will not be the same show. I have, my ADD is untreated. There's no way I can keep an hour of things I'm saying straight and repeat them verbatim a year later. I'm like, there will be some overlap for sure, but it
won't be 1 hour verbatim.
Yeah, if I do 2 shows in the same night, they're going to be different. Like, I'll have the same outline, but it's not
a different skeleton with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So congrats on the Dry Bar. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, that was we shot it January 2020. And
did you? That long ago?
Everything shut down, and then they sat on it for a year and a half, which I heard is pretty common for like how long it takes them to put stuff out. Like, wow. I assumed it was just because of the pandemic, but they're like, no, that's just how they operate. It's like, oh, okay. I mean, that's fine. Sit on it all you want. I wasn't touring in 2020. I'm like, exactly. I'd rather you wait.
Have it sit there until
things get out on the road. Yeah, because it's not like topical jokes. It's, the same jokes about Star Wars are going to work a year from now as when we recorded it.
Yeah.
But because of that, that's what got me into like doing a ton of corporate stuff.
Yeah, it's such a great.
We know he can talk for half an hour without being vulgar or offensive.
Absolutely.
You're hired.
I've had a handful of Dry Bar comics on the show. Brad Upton, who he and I become really good buddies in the past 2 years. I had Greg Warren, Julia Scotti. It's such a cool. Nice. Yeah. She's Jersey as well.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. What was the taping there like? That's in Ogden, Utah. You taped those, right?
No,
or West Jordan?
It's, Provo.
Oh, that's what I meant to say that in the first place. I knew that.
They have a theater down there. It's beautiful, and
the stage looks fantastic.
Yeah, and it was me, Mike Gaffney, and Brian April the night I recorded, and I think they used to be half hours, and they've gotten shorter, but they made that decision between when I booked it and when I did it. So when they told me, like, all right, you're going to you do 3 comics, everyone does 20 minutes. They switch out the audience, same show again. And I'm like, oh, well, if it's supposed to be a half hour and I'm doing 20 minutes, I'll just do 2 different 20 minutes and then they'll cut it together, I guess. And I didn't I should have asked, but I just kind of assumed that's how it worked. So I was like running these 2. I think I opened and closed both sets the same, but then the middles were different. And then we got there, and I like asked the producer then, and she's like, "Oh no, it's just the specials are shorter now." It's like, "Oh, okay." Well, I have been standing in a hotel room for 4 hours saying these 2 different 20-minute sets just over and over again. So like, she's like, "Oh, you can. Like, we don't mind. You do whatever you want." And I'm like, "So," but then Gaffney said the same thing. He's like, "Yeah, I thought we just had to do 2 different ones, and then they would put 30 minutes together out of it." And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess it makes sense the other way more, where it's just like, no, they're just 20 minutes now."
Wow. 20 minutes. And, when you go back and watch all the old Comedy Central presents, they're all 21, 22 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's because they also had commercials then, too. So they had to have filler for that.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where I heard now what they want you to do is like send them the 20 minutes that you would do. Like, they want you to send them the material for review, basically.
Mm-hmm.
When I did it, I think I just sent them the video from my first album, and they're like, "Yep, when can you come?"
Cool. That's all. Well, that's awesome. You already had that sitting there.
Yeah, because I mean it's clean, so being able to just be like, "Here's an hour." Like, I can do clean. I usually do. I don't like billing myself as a clean comedian because I feel like it's got weird connotations.
It just certainly can. Yeah. Have you always been clean, or is that just how you operate?
It's mostly just how I operate. I think, like, if I'm doing a bar show or something, like, if you swear in the middle of a joke, it like grabs people's attention. It's like, I have friends who are like clean comics because they have like religious conviction to not swearing in front of people. And I'm like, No, I just do it because I get asked to. Like
Mm-hmm.
colleges usually want me to work clean, corporate stuff. They're like, hey, don't be too dirty. And it's like, well, I don't want to write 2 sets. I don't want to have like dirty jokes I can tell some places and
the whole
other.
the whole concept of clean has always, and to this day, still induces some panic in me because I've headlined corporates now later in my career, but in the early days doing corporates or fundraisers where like you got to be clean. It's like, what does clean mean? No F words, can't talk about sex, or clean just takes you in 10 different directions. And
it doesn't mean that. The problem is it means different things to everybody.
Absolutely.
Dry Bar has like a 10-minute long video of like exactly what they mean. I'm like, this is insane. It's genuinely really helpful, but like,
no, that sounds like that would be helpful.
Video. But yeah, like I always ask before shows, I say, hey, is there anything specific you don't want me to say or talk about? And I word it that way on purpose because then if I get off stage and they're like, hey, we told you to work clean and you talked about,
Ruby Tuesdays.
I'm like, well, I said, that's why I said, is there anything you don't want me to talk about? That was your opportunity to be like, hey, don't talk about I did a church show months ago. And like weeks after the show happened, I get an angry email from a woman and she's like, all you did was talk about poop. I didn't mention it one time. She brought it up 4 times in the email. Didn't say poop once. I have a joke that I was potty training my daughter. Like that's as dirty as the joke gets. Just acknowledging that that's what was happening. I was potty training my kid. And then she was mad that I brought up TikTok because that's the work of the devil. I'm like, I never would have predicted these are the things that I would get an angry email about at a show, even a church show. I'm like, yeah, I mentioned that I did a video about potty training my kid on TikTok. You're not wrong. That's what I said, but it's not a dirty joke. It's not like graphic potty training jokes. It's just like, I was trying to figure out what motivated my kid.
I have gotten, in my whole entire career, maybe 3, maybe 4 complaint emails about my set. And one of them came a couple years ago. It's about working in a restaurant, and it's clearly a joke. I make ridiculous examples, and I talk about how gluten-free people are the worst people to wait on. It's clearly a joke. I have gluten-free friends that laugh at it. One woman sent me an email, told me it was offensive, and I was like, this is insanity.
Yeah.
Who are these people sitting there that think, 1, that I care, and 2, you're wasting both our time? This is absolutely, it's not rape. It's not abortion. It's a joke about gluten-free people, but you have to get behind your keyboard and let me know these thoughts. Good for you.
Like I've watched comedy for most of my life, and there are things that I've heard people say where it's like, oh, that sucks. I don't like that you said that. I can't imagine emailing that person and being like, hey, I don't like when you did this. Like I just don't watch that person's comedy anymore. Like that's
or you just think
the system. You're like, oh, I don't like this guy. I'm not going to watch him anymore.
Even if you're watching live comedy at a club or a bar show and you're like, oh, this person's not for me, I'm going to go to the lobby for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Done.
You check out, you just stop listening. You play Snake on your phone.
Yeah. All right, we're going to wind down here in a second, but if you've heard the podcast and you know how I like to end it, I always like to get a horror story out of people. So first show off the top of your head when you think of a nightmare hell gig. Let me hear it.
It's going to be recency bias because I know I've had worse shows than this, but I just did it was a country club outside Madison, Wisconsin. And I was supposed to do an hour. They booked it through the guy who I do a lot of corporate stuff through. So I assumed it was a corporate function. And I always when you do corporates, you got to check in a week or so before, talk to whoever booked it, their boss, that kind of stuff, get some details, go over, just run a show, boring admin stuff. And I had the contact from the booker. And I reached out a couple times. I was like, hey, just if you want to jump on a call, we can talk about the show. They never got back to me. So I had the email. They never replied. So I called and I was like, hey, this is the comedian. I'm coming out next week. Just have some questions. Nothing major. Just give me a call. Never heard back from them. I get to Madison And then I'm like, all right, show's at 7. I'll plan on getting there at 6. Have some time, set up the room, especially since I hadn't talked to them, like figure out if there's anything I want to change. And I get there at 6. As I'm parking, the woman calls me back and she's like, hey, it's whoever from the country club. What time are you getting here? And I'm like, oh, I just parked. I'll see you in a couple minutes. She's like, okay. I go in and she's mad. She's like, you're late. And I was like, oh, the booker told me 7. And she's like, no, it's supposed to start at 6. I'm like, oh, I'm very sorry, but I don't have like prep. I'm ready to go. Where do you want me to? She's like, well, the golfers aren't done yet. So they're still I'm like, okay, well then calm down.
Yeah, exactly.
There's not a room full of people eagerly waiting me to start. It's just, she's like, this is supposed to start at 6, but no one's ready. So I'm like, all right, relax. We'll figure it out. And I'm like, where's the show? So she leads me to a dining room that doesn't have like a proper sound system. It just has like a crummy wireless mic to like ceiling speakers that don't work good.
Get that staticky, that fuzz.
Yeah. There's no stage. She just wants me to stand in the middle of the dining room. And she's like, all right, at like 6:15, the first round of golfers are going to finish and they'll start coming in. They're going to line up at the buffet. So that's when we want you to start. And I'm like, well, why don't we let everybody get seated and then I'll start? And she's like, no, this is when we're doing it. I'm like, I think you wanted a band. That's what you should have hired, was a band.
That's typically the case.
Me to just stand here and get ignored by golfers. And like, yeah, I'm not like I'm more of like a storytelling guy. I have like longer bits that reference each other.
Yeah, you need people seated and focused and actively paying attention.
If you come in halfway, there's going to be stuff that you don't understand why the other people in the room are laughing at. Like, there's probably comics who could have just done 45 minutes of one-liners in that situation and crushed, but I'm not that person. So I get there. I'm like, I'm making suggestions on how this can go better. And
I'm going to leave. That's how this is going to go better.
Yeah. And she's like, no, this is what we're doing. This is what you're hired for. It's like, oh, all right. So I hope your golf country club burns to the ground. But yeah, as
your opener?
You would expect. No, it's just me.
No. I asked if I hope this place burns to the ground was your opener.
Oh, no. Yeah. No. And I'm like, I tried, I'm supposed to do an hour. I will power through a bad show. Like, I think especially after the pandemic where I've been doing like Zoom shows where everybody's on mute. I'm like, I don't care anymore. If you tell me to talk for an hour and you're going to pay me at the end of that hour, I'll do it. I don't care if it goes bad. Like, I don't
stand there and get tomatoes thrown at you.
Yeah. Like, I've been doing this long enough where it's like, yeah, I know I'm statistically good at this. Like, this usually goes good. So sometimes, there's the old thing of like, oh, you can't ever blame the audience. I'm not saying this was the audience's fault. I'm saying this was this woman's fault. It was the people who organized the event. It's frequently their fault. Like, that's
absolutely the case.
It was set up as bad as it could have been. She was taking no suggestions from me, the guy who does this all the time. And it's like, yeah, it was going bad. I was supposed to do an hour. After 15 minutes, someone else, because she was furious. I don't think she wanted to talk to me anymore. Somebody else from the club comes up. He's like, hey, man, stop. We're just going to read the golf scores. And it's like, yep. But he said that while he was handing me the check. And it's like, yeah, bye.
Peace. I'm out of here.
Yeah. And I was so not even mad, because it's just like, this is going to go bad. Like, it's just when you watch a train wreck about to happen and you're like, hey, get out of the way. This train is about to collide with you. And they're like, no, idiot. This is not how, like, trains don't hit me. I'm like, it's going to go bad and it's not going to be my fault. It was almost fun. But
it's always the comedian's fault, because you're the one performing, and to the people in the crowd and to the people running the event, it's like when the microphone cuts out on you, you're the one holding it. You look like the idiot.
You broke it.
Yep.
There was one table that was just like seated next to me where I was. Like, they were into it. They were listening. They were having a great time. No one else could hear what I was saying. Like, there wasn't even a show happening for anybody else. And I'm like, yeah, if you answered my email 2 weeks ago, I would have brought my PA. Like, it would have been fine. Like, I have a pretty light portable sound system that works
We could
pretty
have
good in venues like this. Like I would have brought that. It would have been okay. Like I would have told you, do it while they're eating dinner, not while they're lining up at the buffet. It's because when you have a bad show, it doesn't feel good. But when
certain things are preventable.
Yeah, when it feels completely out of your hands and you did everything you could reasonably do to like make it better, and the people organizing the event were just like, no. Yeah, all right, I'm glad this was a bad show. I hate you, and I hope this like country club.
I hope you learn your lesson.
Yeah, don't ever book comedians again. You're not allowed. You got to get just Zydeco musicians. That's the only kind of entertainment you deserve.
I've had so many gigs, mostly at country clubs, where I'm like, these people should have got a band. Nobody wants to.
I've done good ones at country clubs. I think you and I were supposed to do one that Roya Hamadani was booking, and it got like delayed because of the pandemic. And
that sounds familiar.
Yeah, it was like supposed to be March 2020. And
so right at the very beginning.
And then she's like, "Oh, they're going to reschedule," and then it like kept getting pushed back. And then
that sounds familiar.
I assume all those people died.
All right, man, dude. Thank you for being here. It was great chatting with you.
Thanks for having me.
Plug all your socials here right now. Where can people find you?
It's just at Glen Tickle, GlenTickle, everywhere except for Twitter. But yeah, the new special, Glen Tickle Against the World Crime League, comes out on my YouTube channel September 15th.
Awesome, man. Thank you for being here.
I'll be posting clips from it every day from now until then.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Glen Tickle, everybody. Yeah, you got it.